In the annals of history, many tales of bravery and heroism have captured the imagination of future generations. Among these stories, one stands out as an embodiment of an enigmatic and unparalleled hero, and that is the tale of the undercover American soldier named Calvin Barr. This soldier has been said to accomplish the unthinkable, assassinating the tyrannical Adolf Hitler during World War II and then embarking on an extraordinary quest to track down and eliminate the mythical creature known as Bigfoot. Calvin Barr sits quietly in an empty bar, reminiscing about his past over a cup of beer. After serving as a special ops soldier assigned a mission to assassinate Adolf Hitler during World War II, Calvin retired quietly to his quiet village, spending the rest of his days in solitude and with his dog. Since the Hitler mission was classified, Calvin's success was never revealed to the public, remaining a myth among later generations. At the bar, Calvin recalls the moment he entered the German government house during his undercover mission. Dressing as a German soldier, he wasn't seen as an enemy and was able to infiltrate the place. At the order of the military man at the reception desk, Calvin dropped every item in his possession, including his gun. Then another soldier also checked his body to ensure he wasn't hiding anything. After these checks, Calvin was allowed to enter Hitler's office, and on his way there, he created a new gun from the materials he hid in his cap and shoes. Just as he enters Hitler's office, the flashback is interrupted by the entrance of the bar's owner. After exchanging pleasantries, the bar owner, noticing something is amiss with Calvin's demeanor, asked if anything was wrong. Calvin assures him that nothing is wrong as he's just thinking about some things. Not believing him, the bar owner tells him he needs to go on a vacation, giving him ideas of the city to visit. But the idea isn't welcomed by Calvin. Immediately after Calvin exits the bar, a car pulls up beside it and starts following Calvin quietly without his knowledge. Calvin walks to his car, but as he is about to enter, a gang of thugs attacks him in an attempt to steal his car. He fights them off and leaves the scene before the police's arrival. But unknown to him, the mysterious men in the car witness the incident. The following day isn't different from the previous one for Calvin. He spends the day bitter as usual, reading the newspaper dropped by the mailman, which has a serial killing in Canada as its headline, and reminiscing about his past days. The flashback he has this time was the first day he entered Germany, journeying on foot, alone, and in secret due to the war. Calvin spent the night at a tent of a group of Russians whom America sought support from. That night, the leader of the Russians gave him a razor shave, talking about a myth surrounding using a straight-edge razor for shaving, which he used for Calvin. The myth entails the power of the razor to tell the future. If the shave is perfect with no cut, then he will fail in his mission, but if he cut him mistakenly, he will succeed. However, if he intentionally cuts him, they will be cursed. The shave turned out to be perfect, and the Russian altered the omen by giving Calvin a cut behind his left ear, telling him both of them had been cursed. In the present, Calvin and his dog drive to Midtown while listening to the news over the car radio. The reporter talks about the mysterious creature murdering people on the hiking trails while leaving large footprints as evidence. On alighting from his car, Calvin walks up to a seat overlooking a hat store to wear his shoes appropriately. Seeing the hat store brings back memories of the first time he met his girlfriend, Caitlin, whom he couldn't marry due to the Hitler mission. Calvin and Caitlin met at the hat store when the latter wanted to buy a hat from the store, and Calvin happened to work there then. After wearing his shoes appropriately, Calvin leaves the hat store and goes to his younger brother, Ed's barber shop to get a haircut. Commenting on how tired he looked, Ed asked if he was fine, to which he replied in the affirmative. Not believing him, Ed persuades him to tell him what's bothering him. Calvin starts by expressing his regret at things he had done in the past, which he could have done differently. One of which is the Hitler mission. He expresses his dissatisfaction with killing a man, commenting that he never wanted to kill anyone. At that moment, the scene cuts to reveal the time he left the Russian tent the next morning. Calvin bought a dog from an owner before leaving, and the Russians saw him off as he embarked on his journey to Germany. He spent a day and a night traveling on land, water, and rail before he reached the country. The officer at the border checked his passport, and he was granted entry to the government house. On getting to the government house, Calvin tied the dog to a nearby tree and entered. That's when the soldier at the reception ordered him to drop his weapon before entering Hitler's office. On his way to the office, he made another weapon from the items he hid in his shoes and cap. He greeted Hitler in German and handed him a letter disguised as one from the Germans. As Hitler opened the letter and beheld that's from the US Army, Calvin shoots him twice immediately, one in the chest and the other on the head, with his hand shaking from nervousness. Back to the present, Calvin returns home at night with his dog after a shave from Ed. During dinner, he keeps staring at his television which isn't working due to the absence of a signal. From there, Calvin goes back into the past, when he went on his first date with Caitlin. During the date, he had wanted to propose to her, but he was interrupted twice, the first time by a man who unknowingly hit their table and the second time by the parents of one of Caitlin's students. She works as a teacher. He could not propose to her after the parents left as he became nervous. They later shared a dance that night. Now, Calvin wakes up to carry a box he keeps under his bed. The content of the box is unknown, but anytime Calvin carries it out, which is every time, he feels sad. Calvin wants to open it that morning but leaves it unopened again. That night, two men come to visit Calvin. They are the ones that are behind the mysterious men following him at the bar some nights ago. They identify themselves as joint American and Canadian government agents. They explain that all life on Earth may be wiped out as a strange virus has been eliminating people and animals in the Canadian wilderness, and the source of the virus is Bigfoot itself. The Canadian agent brings out a map to buttress their point. On the map, he shows Calvin that the entire wildlife population of 50 miles of the Canadian wilderness has been wiped out, and the area is referred to as a dead zone. That's where the Bigfoot is, they must destroy it before it moves. Knowing Calvin is a highly trained tracker, being an ex-spy and one of the few people on Earth immune to the virus, which they found out by carrying out a test on his blood that's with the government, the agents want to recruit him to go into the wilderness and eliminate the Bigfoot in hopes it will end the pandemic. The American agent tells Calvin that they have sent some men, but they didn't come at all or come home unsuccessful. However, they didn't have it easy. The agents aren't successful in recruiting Calvin as he refuses to help. He tells them he isn't the young Calvin anymore, and all his skills and prowess have gone with time. He cited his mission to murder Hitler as a failure because he only succeeded in killing the man, not the ideology, which Calvin keeps regretting because he lost his girlfriend for it. Calvin has grown bitter over the years due to this feeling of failure, as the Nazis weren't decapitated with the death of their leader, simply finding a convincing double agent to replace Hitler and continuing. Calvin later sends the agents off. At the agent's exit, Calvin becomes uneasy and dials Ed's number, inviting him over. Calvin apologizes for calling him late and informs him about the government's decision to recruit him again. He expresses his dissatisfaction at killing again, saying he doesn't want to have a hand in the death of anything again, either man or beast. However, Calvin later makes up his mind and accepts the offer that night, leaving his dog in the care of Ed. Calvin joins the American and Canadian Army at their camp in the territory where Bigfoot is wreaking havoc. They camped outside the dead zone using fire as a containment measure to prevent the Bigfoot or the virus from spreading to their side. The plan to follow is spelled out to Calvin by the Canadian agent. The plan is that once he gets inside the dead zone, the entire army will fall back another 50 miles, leaving him alone to fight the Bigfoot and making him the only savior of the country. Calvin is given the chance to choose his weapon, and he chooses a gun, a scope, and a knife. As planned, when Calvin enters the dead zone, the beginning of the fire containment, the rest of the operation stays behind while he continues into the forest. Just a few minutes in the forest, Calvin catches sight of the Bigfoot and shoots it in the head, but it escapes. He continues chasing after it, tracing its blood stains. In the pursuit, Calvin trips and nearly falls off a cliff, breaking his little finger. He saves himself from falling and rests against a tree to treat himself. Bandaging the pinky finger, he receives a call from the command center on his walkie-talkie phone, asking about the situation. When he said Bigfoot had escaped, they urged him to find it quickly as they didn't have much time and also to be careful. Calvin promises to get it and throw the phone down the cliff to cut off any communication from the outside world. After searching for a while, Calvin resumes his search and discovers that Bigfoot has climbed a mountain. Calvin also follows suit by climbing the mountain, but it's already nighttime by the time he gets to the top. He spends the night reminiscing on the moment he returns from his mission to eliminate Adolf Hitler. On getting home, he met several letters from Caitlin on his doorstep. Reading the recent one, Caitlin informed him of her attempt to contact him, which was futile as she was told he was unreachable at that period. She also informed him of her move back to her town to care for her sick mom while teaching at one of the schools there. Calvin packed all the letters and dumped them in a refuse bin for the waste disposal company to pick up. Back to the present, Calvin successfully reaches the mountain's apex the next day and meets Bigfoot sprawled on the ground dying. As he attempts to shoot it, Bigfoot breathes his last breath. Feeling pity for it, Calvin chooses to burn the body rather than turn it over to the government. He gathered dry sticks and piled them up beside them, but as he wanted to set them on fire, the Bigfoot sprang back to life and knocked Calvin out of the way, maiming him. Bigfoot has run off before Calvin regains his motion, hiding behind trees. When Calvin stands up, he carefully walks around the trees, not to be caught unaware by it. A few minutes later, the Bigfoot attacks again, and a tough fight ensues between both. The two fight until Calvin stabs Bigfoot and ultimately kills him. Calvin lies back, seemingly dying from his wound. The screen fades to reveal Calvin's funeral as Ed gives a beautiful eulogy about him. He talks about his love life and how he loves a girl, but the war kept them apart, and the lady eventually passed away young. Time passes, and Ed goes fishing with Calvin's dog. Suddenly, Calvin reappears. He is secretly alive. Both go fishing together and watch Ed's granddaughter's school play. During the fishing, Calvin asked Ed the content of what they buried at his supposed funeral, to which he said his medals and uniform. At the school party, Calvin asked if he didn't bury the box under his bed, and he replied in the negative. Not happy about it, Calvin later digs up his casket to retrieve the old box and walks home with his dog. The box's contents remain hidden. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.